Greetings of peace and welcome. My name is Anthea Alexander. I am based in Melbourne and I'm joined this evening by my lovely colleagues and they will introduce themselves as well and explain a little bit about what they do. So each Friday evening when we can, we get together and discuss topics of relevance to us, and they have ranged from compassion to some sort of biographies of people, interviews with certain people. We have more recently discussed the unseen realms and the supernatural. We did that over a few sessions, which was really fascinating. This evening, our topic is coming out of difficulties and getting back on track. So, and this was suggested by someone outside our group. So we're going to discuss it on behalf of her. Hopefully she'll be able to join us. If she can't, she'll certainly be able to watch the replay, and hopefully that she will get some benefit out of the conversation. So a little bit more about me. I born and bred in Melbourne, 53 years young, and I work as a coach and mentor, specifically coaching people how to be healthy physically, financially, and mentally. I'm also interested in a range of different other areas, specifically meditation, spirituality, and I think that probably through those two areas, I have attracted these beautiful souls who are joining me this evening. And it's a pleasure always to meet with them and have these conversations. So having said that, I will hand it over to Rae, who can introduce herself, tell us a little bit more about what she does, and also her thoughts about this topic, or we can perhaps have introductions first of all, and then we can start talking about the topic. How does that sound? Over to you, Rae.
Hi, thank you, Anthea. Thanks everybody for having me along again today because I love our Friday night chats. So my name's Rae. I am a small business owner, a micro business owner because I'm the only employee in far north Queensland, which is inland from Cairns, which is the most beautiful place in the world. So my background is I was a nurse for many, many long years, and I stopped being a nurse in 2019, and I've been able to follow my heart and do what I did for a hobby, which was make pottery. But because of my nursing background, it's taken me down the path to making memorial pottery. So I make cremation urns and wreaths and flowers and things because dealing with people who are grieving is very, very natural for me. So that is a very fulfilling job that instead of draining me like nursing did, it fills me up every day. So I have trouble getting out of my workshop instead of busting for the door to get out of the place when I used to be a nurse. So I'm very, very happy and very, very lucky. So I'll hand it now over to my friend Georgie, who will tell you all about herself, which we can't hear.
Hi everyone, I'm Georgina Campbell. I'm 56 years old from Queensland, Mareeba. I'm a spinal flow practitioner. I have a strong country background. I've spent my life around horses and racing and rural communities. I enjoy helping others and have a passion for health well-being through my work with nervous system solution. That's my business that I'm trying to, well, I'm getting it up and running. I'm a friendly, caring person who values family connection and friends, my good friends. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone today, sharing experience and getting to know you all better. Thank you for having me. Yeah, that's me. Over to you, Michael.
Thanks, Georgie. My name's Michael. I live in the lovely Northern Rivers, so in northern New South Wales, just south of the Tweed. And in my day job, I work primarily with students of English as a second language. When I'm not working in an educational environment or capacity, I love to explore a range of topics that are of interest to me, including physical and mental health, self-actualization, spirituality, um, interpersonal dynamics, and just other interesting topics. And I really enjoy the discussions that we have on a Friday evening. They always provide me with a great deal of food for thought. I'm sure this evening will be no exception. So I'm sort of looking forward to hearing from everyone about different ways that they have dealt with the curveballs that life inevitably throws at us, and yeah, how we deal with um the unexpected things that occasionally come our way in life. So yeah, I'm looking forward to another interesting discussion this evening. And with that in mind, I'll pass it over to Sanji to introduce himself and, offer his initial thoughts on the topic. Sanji?
So
Oh,
just
thank you,
before
Mike.
Sandy does that, it
Yeah,
looks like
yeah.
Sandy, your friend, has joined. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, if you would like
Yeah.
to introduce them.
Yeah, her name is Harini, yeah? Harini, and she's from India. And I suggested like this wonderful group and we discussed. So why don't you join, no? So Harini, welcome to our wonderful group. So if you like, please introduce yourself.
Oh,
And this
yeah.
is Anthea, this is Rae, this is
Hi.
Georgie, Mike.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, hi. Well, it's very interesting that I was able to join today and I was just kind of rushing and finally I was able to make it. Hi, everyone. My name is Harini. I'm from India and currently I'm at Himachal between the mountains and I got hold of Sanjeev after a very long time and I wanted to be a part of this session. Nice meeting you all.
That's wonderful, Harini. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. So we've just basically started the call and we've just been introducing ourselves. So should we go around and do that again, do you think, for Harini's benefit? We'll just keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
How do others feel about it?
We're all going to be talking, so she'll get to know us pretty quickly
sure.
anyway. So perhaps you can introduce yourself, Sanji, and we can take it from there.
Yeah. So hello everybody. It's very nice to be here. Last time I could not be, even though I had to do some things over the last place I was in, and but yeah, all the wonderful people. It's very nice to be here. And I'm Sanjiva. And now I moved to a new place. I'm just setting up the things here. And so I'm a meditation teacher, mentor, coach. So I prioritize in trying to help people and make their lives better. Try to make them come out of difficult situations, these kind of things. I think we all are in those categories, no? In one way or another, or many ways maybe. I think we all have our experience, personal as well as, and we have this wonderful person today also, Harini. Yeah, Harini, you can please feel free to like talk if you like, join or ask
Thank you,
questions.
Sanjiv. I think,
So,
well, I am back to being with the meditation and everything, coaching. So this is my first session, but I would like to tell you guys that Sanjiv has been a major point of contact for me for a huge experience that I've had throughout my journey. And yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add that part of it. It has been a rough phase, I would say. Me being alive right now is a big deal, and I'm breathing and I'm alive. So it's a big traumatic situation, and a lot of other journey and stories that I have within me that I can share probably in our future sessions. But thanks to Sanjeev, and I just wanted to address this with the group.
and please feel free to express and discuss and ask questions
Yeah,
or anything or answer. This is a free
sure,
open
sure.
space.
Yes.
I'll hand it over to Anthea then so Anthea can tell what it's all about also, no? Anthea, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanji, and thank you, Harini, for expressing that. We hold Sanji very high in our esteem, and he's we're very fond of him. Yet we're having a fan girl, boy, whomever session of Sanji, but
Now
that's
we have
fine.
two, like Mike and me, no?
So yeah, we love Sanji, we love everybody in this group. So basically, I'm Anthea. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I work as a coach and mentor, specializing in helping people become empowered, sovereign in their health, physically, mentally, and financially. And so I connected with Sanji probably about maybe 2 years ago, and he invited me to work with him and to start having like an open discussion. And for some time, it was just the two of us, and that was great. We still recorded the sessions, and it was made it available to other people. And then step by step, we've attracted Rae and Georgie and Mike and now Harini, and it's amazing. And I really value all of you, your time and energy and love and care for joining us this evening. This is very much a space that is sacred, and there's no judgment. We are open to discussing anything as long as it's discussed respectfully. And if there's anything that you want to discuss but you don't want it to be recorded, you can let Sanji know. He can actually stop the recording. We can have the discussion, and then we can resume recording once we've had that confidential discussion. Alternatively, let him know if there's any parts of the discussion that you don't want to be made public. That's perfectly fine. I think that's probably all I wanted to say. So our discussion is our topic is amazing. Thank you, Harini, for coming up with that topic. And so what I just wanted to say as an introduction to the topic, that life is very much full of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and trials and tests. And I'm sure that we'll all have examples of those trials and those tests, hardship and ease, And I've made some other notes, but and what I may discuss a little bit later as we get into the topic, as we examine it a little bit more deeply, is my experience with grief and loss, because that's been something that's really affected me very deeply. And I have talked about it with, I think, most of the people on the call, but I'm happy to discuss it further. And if I can share or help someone in some way by discussing it, I'm happy to do that. All right, so that's what I will share at this point in time. I'll pass it over to Rae to introduce herself to Harini and maybe just say a little bit about what you've done in your past. And then we can move on and and you can start, you can share your thoughts and experience with regards to the topic. Okay, over to you, Rae.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. You're going to love it here. We're really cool. So my background is many years of nursing, and now I make pottery. I'm a potter. But unlike Anthea, my biggest difficulties have been all around relationships, because I didn't understand that how much we take on society's beliefs about relationships. And I was cruising along quite fine until I was 27. And out of the back of my head, right back here, came this thought that I needed to have a baby, right? And I thought, oh, finally, I'm set up. I've got a good career and I've got a house and la da da. Now's the time. And I actually thought that, oh, for the first time, I thought this is a possibility for me. So the belief was that the best thing for a baby was to get married, right? So then I went hunting for a husband. I turfed the bloke that I was with at the time, who I just loved him so much, but he just wasn't marriage material. So I actually gave him a year to pull his socks up, because he had a job, but he didn't have any qualifications. He had no ambition, and as cute as he was, it just wasn't, for me, I didn't think he was husband material. So I ended up marrying my best friend, who I'd been with on and off for 10 years. We traveled all around the country and we got married, and oh my God, it was such a mistake. So for me, the first thing about coming out of difficulties and getting on the right track is acknowledging that you're in trouble. I talked to so many people because we just couldn't make that marriage work. He completely disconnected to the point where he wouldn't even speak to me. It was just amazing. So I talked to heaps of people until I finally realized that this is not a salvageable position, and I have to get myself out of here. Like, we'd only been together 3 months, and then he ran off with the cleaning lady, bless her heart. So I think it's true. The girl that was cleaning our house, he just left and moved in with her. It's like, oh. So I'm very grateful now, but at the time it broke my heart. Geez, it hurt. So my advice for people in that sort of situation is, once you realize you're in trouble, you've got to figure out how you're going to get out. Fix any mistakes that you've made, because I obviously had married the wrong person. So I had to apologize to my family, who had paid for this beautiful wedding that was my mother's wedding. You know, I didn't care. But anyway, they sent us to Hawaii for a honeymoon. Oh my God. And I had to ring her up and go, I'm so sorry. This has just fallen apart. It's not working. Do you want your money back? I'm thinking, how am I going to pay them back for this beautiful? Oh my God, it was awful. So yeah, fix your mistakes as best you can. And then when you go through that really awful patch when you with the depression and the bashing yourself up, a really good piece of advice is, apart from try not to be too hard on yourself, is do one thing that you want to do every day, even if it's like walking backwards to the mailbox, just to try and take back control of your life. Just a tiny thing. I don't know, whatever you can think of. Have a something that you don't normally do that is just for you, and it kind of helps you break that cycle, because you can go down a big hole, and I certainly did. Yeah, it was just awful. It's the worst pain I've ever had in my life. Worse things have happened to me since then. especially relationship-wise, but it didn't hurt anywhere near as much as that one. That was just awful. And then when you start to come out, the best thing is you're actually clean slating it. So you can pick what you're going to do next, right? So that is wonderful. So spend some time figuring out what you really want to do. For me, that burning, it came from like my primitive brain, that burning desire to have that baby stayed there. So then I had to start looking. Well, then I kept looking for a husband, and the next one was worse, honestly. But never mind. I did eventually get a beautiful baby out of it, who's turned into my favorite human being in the world. He's just awesome. Yeah, so what else? Choose something you do every day. Oh yeah, listen to your intuition, which I didn't. Again, same mistake. You've got to be married to have a baby. And my intuition's going, do this by yourself. Bring this baby up by yourself. Don't get married. And I did not listen. And that is a very big mistake. And be gentle with yourself. That's kind of, yeah. Yeah. And then eventually you've got to forgive yourself. You have to, otherwise you can't move on. When you've got a little child, you have to be the best parent you can be. So getting yourself into a centered place where you are comfortable. Otherwise you teach your child to not love themselves. So yeah, so it forces you to do. I can see now looking back why it all happened. It forced me to look at myself and yeah, be really honest with myself. Yeah, so that's kind of where I come from on this topic. So I'll hand it over to Georgie and see what she can do with it.
Hi, I'm Georgina. I'm a spinal flow practitioner. I am originally off a cattle property. I've worked in many different areas like yeah, well, childcare, a Telstra dealer, cafes, a jack of all trades, master of none. Really. But yeah, mine, oh well, relationships, yes, but I won't go there tonight about relationships. What I'm going to go, I think, was the biggest part with me, with this topic is you just worry about everyone else and you don't worry about yourself. And and I think I got, all my life, and people used to talk about stress. And I'm like, "Huh, what's stress? I don't even, I don't get stressed. I don't get stressed." But when I got to 40, yeah, I got stressed, all right, but my body took it on, not me. So my body really started declining and really, really, and my biggest, I think my biggest trauma, and I didn't even realize, but now I look back, is I actually, I don't, what I can remember is going to a martial arts fella. He was an ambulance officer plus martial arts, and then he's done a lot of stuff. But then he trained with a Korean guy, and he did bloodlet and acupuncture in my hands, and he actually does the pulses and that, and he checked my pulse this day. Oh, well, first of all, I should say he had to pick me up and put me on his massage table. And he goes, "My God, girl," he goes, "everything is closing down, like my organs, like I was not good, was not good." Anyway, so my thing come from there, and like still didn't really realize how bad I was until I think back now. But I got to that stage, and I don't know the frame of time. I can't remember the time, but I had she was 12 or 13, and I had a 12 or 13-year-old. I was still doing childcare um, at the time, but I worked with another lady. So, and I could get up and do my job and everything like that, but then it come to the CPR, and then I had to give up. But my 13-year-old daughter used to do everything in the house for me, like I used to do certain things, but I'd just get so exhausted and so exhausted. So the first thing I did do is I went off all medications because they reckoned that I had rheumatoid arthritis, which I knew in myself that it wasn't. And well, I'd asked at that stage, I didn't know Ray, but I knew another nurse and the martial arts guy, and I said, can I go off this stuff? So that was really my journey where it started happening. I went on Bali Life and I took it 3 times a day, and then I started to proceed from there. But yeah, I can go on and on, but a long story short, what I have found is that you really have to set your boundaries with people, and you have to really listen to your body and what's in here in your head. I have found everyone is different and things may not, but I'm saying what I've tried. Meditation does really, really good for me, and listening to your body, boundaries with people, spending time with yourself, and just um, finding, what really works for you. And um, and just going with more or less going with the flow now of what you feel that you want to do. But always remember of where you were. Well, you don't have to remember where you were, but like have it in mind to where you are now. Yeah. I think that's a long story short of everything. Over to you, Michael.
Thanks, Georgie. Just reflecting on what both you and Ray have said. I do think it is a good idea, or something that I've, with the benefit of hindsight, try to do now when I find myself in difficulty, is to, even if it's just mentally, take a bit of a mental inventory of where I'm at.
Yes.
Sometimes I do put pen to paper, and I can find that helpful. Because, obviously, as Ray was saying, trying to resolve or solve a problem generally starts with accurately identifying exactly what the problem is, so diagnosing the problem as best as possible first, and trying to do so in a manner that has some degree of objectivity about it. That is why, in my own personal experience, I often find it maybe easier to have a conversation with someone I trust who isn't as invested in the situation or the outcome, who is perhaps slightly more objective, or maybe writing it down and then looking at it in literal black and white and trying to get a sense of, this is okay, this is what's gone wrong, this is what I'm not happy with, how am I going to respond from here? So that's something that I still do. Some people find it helpful to keep a journal or a diary. I am often quite lazy and will use voice notes or text to speech to do things like that on my phone, because I find it convenient and I can make note of things as I go. One thing that I do find interesting and helpful is I've started often, because often when I'm in a bind, I think to myself, I have no idea of how to get myself out of this situation. What am I going to do? Um, so yes, I do try and think, all right, what's the next step that I can take? But one of the things that I do now is I'll often make a list of what's making the situation worse. I don't make a to-do list. I make a not to-do list and think, well, I know if I do these 3 or 5 things, it's going to exacerbate the problem. It's going to make me feel worse. It's going to be a step back. Um, and that's one thing that I have over time struggled with. So I almost make a not to do list. These are the things, these are the mistakes that I know are mistakes. And if I go back and do them, I'm going to make things harder for myself. I'm either going to self-sabotage or I'm going to complicate the situation further. How can I, if nothing else, in the short term, not make this situation any worse? That's something that might help other people. I know it helps me. Um, and so yeah, I like the idea of, having a not to do list. And that's an idea that's applicable in a variety of situations, whether it's a personal problem. It could be I'm at work and it's like, okay, uh, I'm not going to, or one of the things might be I'm spending too much time on my phone on social media. I'm going to delete the app off my phone, which I have done. Actually, I'm still doing a bit of a digital detox at the moment, so I'm avoiding almost all social media. So I'll pass it over to whoever would like to speak next. But yeah, I'm interested in sort of hearing whether other people have got any strategies that they use when they're in a difficult situation, whether it be a personal one, a professional one, or maybe a social situation.
Harini or Sanji, you can decide which of you might like to speak next.
Harini, if you like, please speak.
Yes, yes, Sanjay. Would it be possible if we could not record this?
Yeah,
Like,
sure, sure.
can we stop the
Yeah,
recording?
sure.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I think like if we can talk, like I think many of us mentioned what they went through. So if we can make this space like Anthea mentioned, it was a good thing. Like if anybody doesn't want this in public, we can always pause the recording, which we did now also. And so yeah, so the topic is like coming out of difficulties and getting back on track, no? So we can even like make it the second one or something like that also if we because it's a lot, right? It's a lot because people can go through so many kind of difficulties. You can name it from any corner, no? Like from losing someone, even financial hardships, illnesses, betrayals, rejections, you name it, no? Social norms, no? Society norms, all these things, no? Like what is happening in the world and everywhere. But there are things that really relate to each one of us also, right? That hit the spots, no? And it was very
It
difficult,
is
no?
different. Yeah, yeah, it's different
Yeah.
and difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so in a way, like we'll go to the solutions also. And for me also, it took a huge like learning process, and through experience and a lot of things. It's still a learning process actually, yeah. But there are now coping mechanisms and a lot of things. But as a child, it was tough, really tough. Like I had a hard childhood and difficult childhood, and then but most of the time I was a monk, no? But still there are like a lot of things to go through, no? Like interactions, getting used to a new life, and then living in isolation, all these things. But in a way it put to the test of things, physically, mentally. And for me, like mostly like uh, it's like I missed a chunk of as a civilian or something, no? Because it's like I stopped at the school time, and now it's like so the memories that come even are like from those times. Now I'm back a civilian, no? So and the other chunk as a monk is like it's separate, no? So yeah, even it's like it doesn't seem that the time had gone through and all, but there were many things like for with the parents and what happened, no? Or like to be in according to the expectations, even like changing the monk life back to a civilian life, that was like really tough. So over the years, before I was like how to say reacting in a big way, no? I used to react in a big way. But when you're a monk, who are you going to shout in the forest? Not a stone or something, right? You can scream, but nobody will hear you, no? Oh, by the way, Georgie, I wanted to share this, no? Like uh, that jack of all trades, master of none. There's another part to it. It says jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes it's better than a master of one. Many people just use the first part only. Then one day I saw this and I remembered when you said this, I just wanted to share it because it seems so very nice, right? People knowing many things, skills and things. So I just want to share this like other thing. So yeah, jack of all trades, master of none, and they just stop it there. And it seems like no, I only. But it says but yeah, it. But oftentimes better than a master of one. You see people with like may focused on one sector, but no, they can be weak in many other things, no? Social interactions or anything, or they can be very intellectual, but they can be very bad people even, right? So I think
I, I do have a diploma in childcare, but I don't think I don't think you can master that.
uh, yeah, so we'll talk about each one's tactics and all these things also, no? Like how they coped up. But still, I acknowledge, no, like as human beings, it's like always like a cycle. Just when you thought it was like going right, and there is never like seems a perfect moment unless we try to see it as such. But in a way, it seems like, how can it be like, no? Some people say in some practices also see everything as perfect, no? But in reality, we cannot say like can tell with our minds, but no, in a so that takes us to another level that in a way it's beautiful to see like that the trees are perfect as they are, no? Or some, but in another way, like if we see perfection also, that also becomes a problem. But coming back to our topic and all, yeah, in human we see like for me also there are points like, oh, you think like it's now happening finally and then everything collapses, right? So yeah, it's like a cycle that happens. I think the best we'll talk about and maybe on another time or any time like that also solutions what we all did. So it's like getting back onto our feet, no? We can get the biggest punches of, but it's like standing up again, not like brushing off the dust. It's not easy. Some people get stuck in there, like depressive states and all these things. Like, but it's still yet a cycle. It's everything, no, like a day, you see the shifts happening, like the months and the years, no. There's always like a cycle that happens. And what at one point we are at our very best physically, mentally, and all. Then some illness can come, or just tiredness, or hunger, thirst. It can just put everything down. But there are things like that we do by ourselves. We put ourselves into trouble, uh, or we try to help others. Then
So,
it.
so as you talk about this cycle, Sanjeev, I can remember one thing that my major challenge was to get out of this. Uh, I termed as soon as I came out of this, I termed this as 18 months of time traveling. So for almost 18 months, I've just been a person who is observing things, like seeing surroundings and just reading the messages that you get. So that's the challenge that I've come out of. And slowly I've been able to talk. So, which is basically you see something, you get a message, right? So it's like you read this as a universe message that, okay, you're seeing something, and then you assume that this is actually universe sending this message to you. So I face this challenge of seeing, hearing, the smell, and the touch. So all the five senses basically. It was such an intense process that I the surroundings, the social circle, because I'm a very social being, so I want to step out of the house, which is what I had learned from my childhood trauma recovery. And I came out of that and straight away went into another zone of not talking at all, just being silent and observing things and reading messages and assuming things. So these were the factors that I was into, just kind of stuck into. Sometimes even now there's a bit of an effect over there where I even now sometimes I get messages, then I kind of read. It kind of becomes a habit. It kept on happening, happening, happening. It became a habit. And that was the huge challenge that I had to get out of. And I could experience all of this pain of people who are physically uh, not able to walk, can't see, can't hear, can't speak. So this was the intense. So it was supposed to be a solo traveling, guys, that I was supposed to be traveling alone and exploring things as a social media person, putting on, Instagram and all the social media. I was supposed to be this person, but it ended up kind of traveling alone, but also attracting all of these kind of things, like just reading the messages, and it went really crazy and it went really intense, with a lot of understanding, because the mind plays trick and it kind of gives a lot of understanding when we are so intense. So this is just one of the story that I'm saying. So there's probably going to be much more such things that I can recall as we speak.
Yeah, no? So, yeah, please feel free to discuss or like share or anything like that. So, yeah, there are these. Then the worst thing is like there are things like we create for ourselves, no, and put ourselves into trouble,
Like an imaginary sort of a thing. Yeah.
or we practically do it, and no, through our actions and words, and all that also can happen, right? So, that also
Yes.
happens, and then and the decisions we make according to that, no, the judgments, no, all that. So, and it leaves like with loss, confusion, failure, no, these kind of disappointments, no, even people are isolated or lonely, right? Or uncertain, no. But the best thing in like spiritual practices and all, they will talk about like solutions and all that. So, it's like we all this dung, right? The excrete or anything, no, but it's stinky, it's no, like it's poop, right? And nobody wants it actually, no, like unless the ones who are like yeah, living on it, right? The insects or the organisms that live on it. But average humans and all, we don't need it, we don't use it, like, or we don't like it, no. So but it's a way of like converting those negatives into positives and learning through experiences and all. So I'll hand it over. Maybe this session we can share and we discuss of what we went through, and and how we came out of it. And maybe next time we can talk more about solutions, no, like the steps we did. I think many of us have like many experiences about these, right? I'll hand it over to Anthea.
So thank you everyone for sharing and being quite vulnerable. We are already almost an hour of talking. We've been talking discussing for about 50 minutes. So I'm thinking that we definitely have enough material to carry this into another session. So what we might do is, I think if we perhaps talk about a couple of solutions or sort of things that we are feeling called to express now or guided to express now, and then we can pick up the discussion again, perhaps even with more solutions, or go a bit deeper into our own experiences. What I would also really love for people to reflect on is like the blessings or learnings that come out of these trials and tests, because I can already see, and I hope Rae doesn't mind me mentioning this, but if she does, Sanjva can just zap it out of the replay, that through her trials and tests with her relationships, it sounds like that really helped her to be a better parent. So that there are skills and experiences that we learn that help us in other areas of life. And we think, oh, I don't know why I had to go through that grief. I don't know why I had to go through that bad relationship. I don't know why I had to go through that health challenge. But we receive and we learn qualities and skills like patience and other skills that otherwise you may not be able to learn other than going through those experiences. So I'd love for people to reflect on that a little bit. And perhaps, like I've just done with Rae, we might be able to point out to each other where we can see, because we're a little bit more distance from each other, where we can see that we may have grown, or just perhaps suggest. I think that might be valuable if people are open to that. So what some things that I've mentioned, that I've written down as we have been just during this discussion, some ways of me dealing with tests and trials, very much to slow down and take things. Sometimes you just need to slow things right down, take things a day at a time, an hour at a time, a minute at a time, a second at a time, and just deal with what is really happening right at that present moment, and try not to think about the future or the past. Just, you might just have only enough energy to really focus on what's happening right at that point in time. To be really gentle with yourself and kind to yourself if you're going through a really big struggle. To talk with trusted people. And Michael also talked about journaling, and he sort of asks himself questions and writes a what not to do list. I love that. I think that's amazing. And also listening to yourself. And I think maybe Georgie or Rae talked about that as well. And I think both of them actually did. So they were some ways that I have dealt with really challenging situations, and they're sort of in my toolkit. And if challenging situations arise, I've got them there to pull out, and I can use those because I know that they work for me. So what we might do is we'll go around once more, and people can perhaps talk about some solutions or what they would like to express. We'll finish off the conversation, wind it up for this evening, and then we can certainly pick it up next time. And it might even be that there's a part 3. We'll just see how we go. But there's no hurry. We can just take as long as we need to explore this topic as fully as we wish to. So I'll hand it over to you now, Rae.
Thanks, Anthea. I think you're right. I think it made me a different parent than I would have been. I was already pretty aware of not like transferring my phobias onto a child, and I tried to, all through the pregnancy, I tried to have positive thoughts, and because I knew from the minute he was conceived that everything that happened to me would affect him, and that made it pretty tough because that when that relationship fell apart. Yeah, so very different. I was really lucky that I managed to not ruin him by letting him be who he was enough. Because my parenting, I had wonderful parents, but they put their expectations on you. And my mum, when I was leaving high school, he said, "Oh, well, you can be a dentist or a physio or a da da da." 6 things I was allowed to be. So of course I went nursing because it wasn't on the list. But yeah, so I managed to do that with him. But I tell you what, the thing that got me through the most precious thing that helped me were my girlfriends, women friends. So boyfriend, men who are friends are really good for practical things, but you need women around you when you're going through emotional crap because blokes just feel helpless, most of them, except probably maybe Sanji, but Australian blokes. So yeah, make sure you cultivate really good friendships, high quality friends. It's my best tip for getting through life in general. What do you think, Georgie?
Yeah, yeah. I you have to have good friends around you, ones who you can trust, ones you can talk to, um, and you feel comfortable sharing. I don't think that I let my guard down a lot. But I have about 5 good friends, and yeah, it's really important. Um, and just I think yeah, I say it again, just don't be too hard on yourself. I think we're all hard on ourselves, and don't be too hard on yourself. And look, if you've got, I know it's hard when when you're working and everything, but I think if you need to rest, you need to rest. If you need to go and talk to a friend and have coffee with a friend, go and do that. Um, I think it's important that you have someone when you're not okay, and you find something or someone. Yeah. I think that's about over to you, Michael.
I think that's sage advice, not to isolate yourself and to, yeah, surround yourself as much as possible with people you trust, whether it's family, friends. There's a role, depending on what you're going through, for maybe talking to your doctor. I know that's important in my own life. Yes, but don't isolate yourself. Keep the lines of communication open. Um, in terms of practical recommendations, I thought I was going to go through today's session without one. And Sanji's Sanji's earlier comment reminded me of a book. I was looking up at my bookshelves, which are just directly above me. I've got a copy of a book by a well-known Buddhist monastic, Ajahn Brahm. It's called "Who Ordered This Truckload of Dung?" Inspiring Stories for Welcoming Life's Difficulties. And I've had that book for at least 10 years. And it talks about, and the title of the book obviously is how can we turn the bad things that happen to us in life into something good? How can we use this as fertilizer, in a manner of speaking, for something positive? So that's a book that I can wholeheartedly recommend. I also recommend the Dharma talks. Ajahn Brahm's got a monastery in Western Australia. So if you type in BSWA, Buddhist Society of Western Australia, or just Ajahn Brahm, which is BRAHM, it's what he shortens his name to, you'll find those resources. So I'd recommend that as some maybe reading material. But I will hand it over to Ashini or Sanji, whoever wants to go first.
Harini.
Well, nothing much. There's nothing that I can think of right now, but I'm looking forward for some more interesting topics for next session. Maybe I will write a message to you, Sanjiv. Yeah. But yeah, I love this session today because it's kind of giving me a lot of inputs. And as I said, I was time traveling, which I term that for myself. But yeah, it is something that I have to work on a lot of things, and it's kind of giving me a lot of inputs right now. So I'm being in different groups, trying to figure out what is what. Am I still time traveling, or am I still, in some other sort of a world, or am I back to the reality and on Earth? And yeah, let's see.
Yeah, thank you, Harini, for joining today. And thank you all for sharing. And I think we can take it to another discussion or solutions. No, maybe next week. Each one has their own tactics or learning curves and all these things over the years. So each one we are all back, from something. No? So yeah, I think it's about getting back. We have done anything, and always keep in mind, there's the nice saying, uh, all saints had a past, no? All villains have a future. So that's a beautiful saying, right? All saints had a past. No, nobody's pure, and they don't come like that, no? And nobody's like filthy and dirty, and they don't come like that also, no? But they can change at some point, go take detours or like that, no? Take some, do some mistakes, but that doesn't mean they are entirely bad or anything like that. But as you all said, we keep one moment at a time. Sometimes there's nothing else to do. Nothing else, there are no solutions. So just maybe I should just drop all the trump cards and just say, okay, that's all I have, no? At some point, because you don't, those days, no money or anything, no? So it just, there's nothing else to do also. But it somehow other works. Or sometimes just a break for a day, like Georgie and all said, no? And sometimes it shifts a whole thing. It time solves problems, but not forever. You don't just stay without doing anything forever, no? But sometimes solutions appear without us trying to fix everything by themselves also. But like you all mentioned, Anthea, no, Rae, and all mentioned, uh, yeah, one moment at a time, one thing at a time. We don't have to indulge in the past. We can learn from our past for sure. But we have to focus on the future, which is created in the present, right? So let us focus towards that, and things like mindfulness and these things, and yeah, practices we do, chants, prayers, no, all these things really help. And we try to keep our mind in a negative, like trying to release the negatives and keep our mind in a positive aspect or wholesome. And sometimes it's much more easier to do than the negative things or we think and do actually. Because, for example, you just have to close your eyes and try to be with the breath or something, right? But other things you have to think like, oh my gosh, no, like all these things. And it's like really heavy and weighing us down, and even sometimes the mental aspect just crashes you, no? Crushes you, huh? Crashes as well as crashes. No? So we'll talk about different ways and methods we all coped up. It could be a very simple mechanism. Some people, you see them on the like, but it's like they just dust themselves off and just they smile about it and no, and you're thinking like, how does this person even survive, right? But they have a laugh at it or something like that. And you see, like their living conditions are very difficult. They are in a place where it's like aggressive and violence even, but yet still like uh, you see, and they are good people, no? So it's about our mind, like Georgie also mentioned, no? So we have to strengthen our minds, and we'll talk about practices and methods because in meditation practices and all, we put ourselves in those kind of situations before in hand. We'll talk about these. It's not like we go to a
There's one topic if we can actually discuss about the
sure,
next
sure,
time that we speak, if I could get a little information
sure,
about
sure.
what is introspection, because this journey also went on with understanding of what is introspection, and I'm not a great fan of reading any of the books. Maybe I have read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, things like that, or I like storybooks like the fiction, right? Yeah, fiction sort of a book. So if there is any information that we can talk about what is introspection, because that is also one of the word that I kind of heard and just did a quick research on it online. And there was a lot of introspection happening, and I somehow feel like that introspection would have probably went into a positive and a negative aspects as well. So if we can talk a bit more about this, I'm curious to know about that.
Yeah, sure. No, like we are open to many topics, and anybody can suggest, no, and
Yeah,
can go
okay.
through those things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just see like I try to find that book also. If I find the free PDF or something, I'll try to share with all of us. So and let us like we'll try to think of solutions, and then we'll discuss and try to do that topic like Harini also mentioned, or any other topic we all like to discuss about. So I think we can go to another maybe discussion about these things now again. Okay, I'll hand it over to Anthea.
Okay, thank you, Sanji, and thank you everybody for your input this evening. It feels like it's just gone like that. It feels like we have just had an introduction and then we've discussed, well, it doesn't feel like we've discussed enough, but I think rather than continuing on and perhaps getting a bit tired and fatigued, it's worth stopping now and picking it up for our next session. And what may also happen is, which often happens for me after these discussions, is that I continue thinking about what's been discussed, and then more reflections and insights can come up that we can discuss for our next conversation. So I'm grateful to you all for your time, your love, your care, your energy, your insights. And I'm really looking forward to our next discussion. And thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was a great
Likewise.
pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for adding me, Sanjeev.
Yeah, sure.
It's a pleasure
Please
meeting
join
you
in
all.
again, no?
Mm.
Yeah. These are wonderful
Yes,
people.
please.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Of
Okay.
course. I would love to. And I'm trying to build a lot of one-on-one as well. It has been a bit of a challenge, but I take my time. But I know the third or fourth day of conversation, I'm probably going to talk a lot with every one of you guys.
You're welcome. You just take your time and that's perfectly fine. We're here.
And if I find
Yes.
that book,
Right, see you. Have fun.
if I find the book, I'll share with you the PDF version. I
Sure.
think maybe in the collection also I
Sure,
have.
sure, Sanjay.
Okay, have a great rest
Yeah,
and a
sure.
good
Okay,
night to you
thank you.
all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take
See ya.
care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.